Let's go.
Hope that was the first one.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do.
Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. Anyways,
You're stealing my thunder. You're stealing my thunder.
Oh.
Hang on. Hello and welcome to the first episode of the podcast. We haven't thought of a name for the recording yet, but yeah, we figured that it might be a good idea to make a podcast talking about stuff happening in the competitive scene, especially from the perspective of four current high-level competitive UK players. So yeah, you can probably guess who I'm with based on that. But just in case you couldn't, why don't you all introduce yourselves?
How's it going, everyone? I'm Samidge.
Hello.
Shut up. That's my name. That was
I'm Chris.
Snipe. My name's Snipe.
Okay.
His name's Chris.
My name is Chris. My name is Chris 3. I used to be called Chris 2 before I changed it.
He changed his name.
I changed my name. But yes, so we're here to talk about what has happened recently, both in the competitive scene as well as just the game in general. As everybody knows, the game has recently just gotten a massive content update with the fresh season. We've gotten a bunch of new specials, kits, stages, and some patch notes. So let's talk about them, I guess.
Patch notes. Those were patch notes.
So the patch notes. Let's first talk about the patch notes before we actually get into like the main content. So, well, the first one, everyone is really excited for this one because this is going to be a big meta, contender, big sweet roller. It has been the damage dealt to non-player objects such as splash rolls, as well as booyahs, has been doubled when you strike them with your roller.
I'm picking it up.
He's picking it up.
He's picking it up. Honestly, that was one of the most sleeper buffs in the patch. I just kind of saw it. I was like, okay, big swig deals more damage to objects. That's kind of cool, I guess. And then the day the patch drops, I opened Twitter, as you do, and I just see a clip from Pika where I think they were running Shred, Ultra Shredder on Big Swig, and then with a single vertical flight they just destroyed an entire splash wall. And I think honestly, I think it really suits Big Swig. It was already the funniest weapon in the game before, and now it's even funnier. Because
they took away the funniest part. They already took away the funniest part when it could artificially slow down the entirety of Eel Tail just by shooting the wall. That was great.
Oh
my god, yes, they did remove that in this patch, or even before. It was that was all over Twitter for days. It was specifically Eel Tail. If Big Swig were to shoot in one area of the wall, below Snipe, it would cause massive frame drops in the entire lobby. So not just for the player doing it, for all 8 people in the lobby. And that's unfortunately gone, so.
Unfortunately?
Yeah, unfortunately, bro, it's hysterical.
I mean, it was funny to do in pro battles and stuff, but I just remember doing X battles and grinding my way up, and then just every time I'd see a Big Swig and I was on the Eel Tail, I'd just groan inside because I knew what they were gonna do. I knew exactly what they were gonna do, and every goddamn time it was basically just a mission to stop the Big Swig from reaching the specific spot on the map. It was those escort missions where you're trying to protect the president or whatever, and you have to get to a certain point. It was the opposite of that. I was the enemy AI trying to kill the president.
The main thing as well is I think what actually it not just destroying splash walls, umbrellas quickly, but also booyah. I think I saw on Twitter as well that it destroys booyah in 3 shots, including the player. If you run, I believe it is if you run OS, but I might be wrong about that. Which is very interesting because booyah is currently probably the second most played special in the game behind things like Crab and Strike. Tri-Strike, sorry, and
the third most played thing, right?
Oh yeah, second, third. It's something it is probably third.
It's very great that it can do all this and that, but it still can't one-shot you ever as a roller. Yeah. It's still terrible. It's still.
I mean, if it does a vertical flick and it clonks you right in the face, then yeah, it does one-shot. But everything else,
hitting you on the mouth.
Being kitten and nothing ain't that bad, you know what I mean? Like,
By Big Swig, I'd rather avoid him.
fair enough. Yeah, you got a point. You know.
What's that's all well and good, but like the real patch was like what was they just dogpiled crab.
Yeah.
They just dogpiled crab entirely with what was it? It was Trizuka, Inkjet, and what else?
Stamp.
Oh yeah, no wonder I forgot about that one. Yeah, Stamp, but they got like insane multipliers that you can just one-shot crab or like two-shot crab with those specials. Usually one-shot, I think, with OS. Not sure about Jet. I think it's always two or three-shot it. And it also seems to have like they have like armor piercing now, I guess, where like they'll kill you through the crab. So not only will it shred the crab, it'll also kill you through the crab. That was something that Zuka probably should have been able to do from the start. Because if you shoot someone in the back with Zuka, yeah, I'll just kill him. Or even on the side with Zuka, or like if you manage to shoot over like the crab, you could always do that. You could always hit him in the head, but it was really difficult. Now there's less of a skill curve to doing that, I guess. So you just shoot the crab with the Zuka, and it dies, which is probably the most like viable way of all of those three. Because hammer, yeah, sure, you can throw it at the crab and it'll get rid of it. But you have to be playing a hammer weapon, which is throwing in the first place. But then Zuka, has like squeeze. Oh yeah, no, you're right. Wiper's good. Wiper's very good. Wiper's busted actually.
Wiper is the only hammer weapon that is actually decent.
Yeah, only one that's playable.
I mean, every time I see Brush Nouveau now, I cry. Like, I literally even made a video. I was like, yeah, hammer's gonna be pretty good for this thing. And then I played it in X rank for 3 months straight, and I just watched as my hammer went from doing a significant amount of damage every game to, oh, I have my hammer and I could do barely anything with it. And then I would start crying.
You really thought that was gonna be good?
I thought it was.
Full chest. Thought it was gonna be good.
I thought it wasn't gonna be bad. All right, I thought it wasn't gonna be like inferior. Unfortunately, it just is inferior in like 95% of situations. But hey, I can destroy crabs in one swing now, so like, you know, I don't know why I couldn't do that from the start of the game, but hey.
Game's not finished, but we're not going to go there.
Not today.
So we got like, yeah, so those weapons are going to be seen, but like Zuka's definitely the biggest winner, because there's actual weapons that people will play with Zuka, aside from Wiper, and maybe, I guess, L3. People like L3, which is a very fun weapon, but I doubt we're going to see it like that much. But Zuka's the big winner, so I'm looking for Zuka now on my screen. So like, it's like Carbon is probably the least scary, even though Carbon's very good, and then Shot and Squeeze. Squeeze could see a resurgence, possibly.
I've thought about playing Squeeze again, because the one thing about this patch is that it has, while Crab is obviously still top 1 best weapon in the game, Splash, it's still ridiculously strong. There are options against it now, and Squeeze is probably the best Zuka weapon out of all 3 that does its best against Crab, because of the fact that it has range, so you're never that close to the crab, and you also have a wall, which gives you a chance to get away from the crab if it's directly shooting you. And of course, Zuka's great, and OS is not that much of a thing not that bad to run on Squeeze. But the thing is that this, just right now, with how aggressive the metagame currently is, with Splash being as popular as it is, with Neo Splash now seeing a lot of play, T-Tech, Machine, so on, Squeeze just does so bad against aggression. The reason why it was so much better last game was because once the game did slow down, but also the fact that it had bubbles. So if you push the Squeeze, the Squeeze would just bubble and you die instantly. Zuka is definitely not that, and while the wall does give it more agency to survive aggro, it's definitely not enough to keep it alive. And also, burst bombs being popular will remain popular. Is just that just makes things so much more difficult for Squeeze, because it can't easily get out of that, especially since it campaigned very well for itself at the moment.
Yeah, there's a lot of exciting stuff, potential for meta progression, but obviously right now not much has changed. People are still using like Splash, Stamper, Machine, or like Neo Splash instead of B-Splash, I guess. I
was watching Rob play a tournament earlier today. It's Sunday as we're recording this, and the comps and like grands was literally like triple V-Splash Machine, and it was against double V-Splash Machine Stamper. like
Was that against AR?
yeah, that was against AR, yeah.
Were
So
they playing like a JP?
AR weren't playing with a JP. Rob was playing with Zuz, Takabon, and
was-
Jared.
So that was Bella.
Yeah, it was Scar. You got like Scar, but yeah, like it was full Alliance, Rogue, and Grants. Comms so far really haven't like. I think like it's been like about 5 days since the new weapons came out, like 4 days since the new weapons came out, I should say. But like I almost feel like already like the sort of like new toy syndrome is like already fallen off for a lot of like competitive people. It's like the last time I saw like any sort of experimentation with like new strategies from the new weapons is Scrim last night. I think it was Last Resort versus Seafoam. And Last Resort were experimenting with a strategy which they were inspired by a recent Japanese tournament where the winning team actually ran some of the new weapons that came out in the patch. They ran 2 of the new Zap and 1 of the new Slosher. Some games. It was Rentana, so Rentana was my machine as well. And they won the whole tournament with it. And Last Resort, you know, saw that and were like, yo, that looks sick, let's try it. And it was basically just a scrim trial like that and seeing how that goes. But yeah, speaking of new weapon, like the new weapons are out, like we should probably talk about those, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing is that like there's been a lot of buzz around Super Chomp specifically with Zap 89. Ugly weapon. Very unattractive.
I
Zap
hate
89.
that weapon.
Not a nice color scheme. It is an ugly little Zap, not a fan.
Blame the marketing executives of Nintendo in the late 80s, mate. Don't blame the Splatoon devs.
Why
know,
couldn't
yeah,
it,
yeah.
why couldn't it have been
Not their
blue? It would have been so nice if it was blue.
It would have looked nice if it was blue, yeah. Or just anything else. Maybe not anything. But there's yeah, so Zap 89 looking pretty good. So like within the first like 2 days, it won a weekly. Yeah, it was only a weekly in Japan, but the players I know that were playing for that team were Norishio and Tana. I'm not sure about the other two. Ironically, I've not mentioned either of the Zaps. He was playing Stamper and Rentana was playing Tri Machine. Trinovo included. Spore mentioned on like maps like Zone of Sturgeon, so like good Tri maps. Which is very interesting. But yeah, so Super Chomp is pretty. It's a thing. It exists. It is very funny, and you can spawn friends, which is very nice. So good to do that.
I like friends.
We all like friends. The thing with Super Chomp is that it's particularly strong in a metagame where I grow Reign Supreme. Right now, 3 weapons actually. I see a lot of play with QR, Tetra, Stamper, and Wiper, specifically the 2 Splatoonies, because they're seeing more play than Tetra would at the moment. The main thing with Super Chomp is that it is a decoy, and I think in the Japanese translation it is called like something decoy or something like that. But it is a decoy. It is not supposed to be like a damage kill special. You use Super Chomp, and then you run, and then the Stamper, Tetra, Wiper, whatever, runs in behind these things, preferably with Ninja Squid. Just run forward, and as a kind of a cover. So you run in. They're too distracted by all these chumps, so that they either shoot them, and they're all distracted by shooting the chumps, and then the Wiper just one-shots them. And that's the strategy that they kind of employed because they were so Inertio Stamper and Machine/Try, so both very aggressive weapons, and I would imagine the Machine is probably running QR, and is just constantly running it over and over and over again. And even if they're just getting 1 or 2 kills, they're going to come back in a second with QR. So the whole strategy just kind of revolves around constantly painting for Super Chomp, and because it's also Zap, you have so much grind for those 2 weapons.
Not only that, but like when they do have that Tri-Slosher, like the new Tri-Slosher kit happens to have Fizzy Bomb and the specialist Tacticooler. So you can run in, like you basically just dive in with these with these chumps and the Fizzy Bombs that your teammates and whatever are throwing like down. But you also have Drinkies. You also have like tactical buffs. So because of that, you're like running in super buffed while like a bunch of decoys are around you. It's like there are several very big advantages that you get if you take a fight while in that kind of situation. And I honestly really like the strategy. I think it's very fun, but I think like the West as a whole is still fairly like a fair ways off of playing like more traditional dive comps. So what I mean by dive comp is like, you know, comps that rely on weapons like Tetra, Wiper, Stamper, kind of Brush to an extent, but like the role of Brush has shifted a lot from where it was in Splatoon 2, so I don't necessarily consider it like a pure dive weapon anymore. But you have those weapons with a lot of QR, and you're just, you're running in, you're constantly trying to take space, constantly trying to force fights and push an advantage. And once you manage to break through the opponent's line, you can get like a massive amount of value just from managing to break through. And the Super Chump strat, like Super Chump, I think is just perfect for that, and Zappy 9 is the perfect user for that because it's a weapon that's fairly near the front, so it can reliably shoot chumps in areas that your aggros will want to go to. But also, Nintendo, with their their wisdom and their wit, they made the new Zap 180 points for special. So I hope you like friends, because you're going to be seeing a lot of friends.
Friends are coming.
The friends are coming. Be scared.
It's such an interesting special that it's like I don't think we've ever seen something like that before in the game ever. A special that's not meant for kills. It's not meant to be like it's not like a protective special like Bubble or Booyah or something like that. It is straight up just it is meant to be a distraction special, and I think that's really, really interesting, especially since like we're in such an aggro meta, and if you just look away for a second, that is a second where a Samper, Tetra, Wiper, whatever it might be, can run in and kill you immediately. And because those weapons kill so quick, it's like it really provides the ability for them to just get in so easily. Especially since those weapons, especially Tetra and Wiper, do kind of struggle to get in a lot of the time because they just don't. Their weapons on their own have a lot of range and they have a lot of killing power, but you have to kind of get close and you have to be in a certain position for them to take advantage of that. And Super Chump really allows that.
We're seeing a lot of that, like how Super Chump allows a lot of those sort of, I guess, quote unquote, feeder weapons away in. But I mean, you can't even disregard the fact that it lets any weapon in the game closer in very easily. Like just anyone running Ninja Squids, that could be your machines, your splashes, your doesn't matter. It could be literally anything. Will still be allowed in as well. I know in Japan they've been using a lot of QR machine as like a secondary, I guess, a secondary Slayer 2. It's like Stamper machine is very, very common, and they will both run QR now. I don't necessarily agree with like machine doing that in a lot of comps, but if you're playing with a Stamp, if you're playing with a Tetra, and you want to have a secondary feeder who can just like continually go in and get kills with QR, doesn't matter, or die more accurately, just die and have like little penalty for it. It absolutely works. Machine probably still, but the what's great about Machine is it has so many options, right? You can play it like that secondary QR feeder, or just have use the entire kit, play LDE, play Ninja Squid, and you're using every one of your resources. It's nice that there's a lot of weapons with those kind of options now, as opposed to just like the linear one game plan, do the same thing over and over again, which is pretty lame.
Yeah, I feel like the overall like the way that the devs are designing a lot of these weapons is they're trying to like give all of these weapons like not only their own identity, but they're also trying to give each weapon like as like unique properties that sets it apart from even just the other variants of the same weapon. Whether these attempts are successful or not, I think it varies a lot depending on the weapon. Like for example, like you can look at Slosher, right? The new Slosher has Fizzy Bomb and it has Tactical. It's like it is also very well suited to a more like I guess rounded playstyle, but obviously lensing itself more towards that aggressive style of play because it has a Tactical. And it's a Slosher that can just two-shot you very consistently if it gets in too close.
People don't talk about Slosher.
People don't.
This main weapon is absolutely busted, okay? Neither of its kits are really that good for it necessarily. Like, the first kit is just kind of bad, full stop. It's like good in Rainmaker and sometimes in Clams, and that's kind of it. Generally, it's terrible in zones, cannot paint with it special, cannot get back in. But it doesn't need to, because all the Try needs to do, it needs to go in, because it's extremely easy to play, like, mechanically, because you just need to shoot in the general direction of someone and you're going to hit them. So all you do with Try is you just go in, and go for trades constantly. Try-Nivu adds a lot more nuance to that because there's now value to your special, even though the value to your special is allowing you to die. So that's what Try wants to do anyway. But then it also has an option to get back in with Fizzy. So it, like, it's funny with trying to vote. It feels like your monkey brain has to fight your smart brain a lot, because it's a lot of times like, well, I actually have the option to be intelligent, go for special, and just poke with fizzy, or I can just tear down the track and go flank. There's a lot more actual thought process with trying to vote than there was with V-Try, which is pretty much always just going for the flank, always going for the aggressive play, or sharking, or whatever. There's always your game plan does not shift, does not change, and if you're playing against good enough players who are very quick to adapt, it's not going to take them long for them to just pick you apart, because you're just unable to do anything but the same thing over and over again. Trying to vote options.
Less flounder, I think. Like the regular triad, like thinking about it, actually has like some nice uses on flounder as well. It's still being played on flounder over nouveau, because like I think like it really helps that it has toxic mist there, because obviously flounder is a map where like a lot of the time people will be approaching by climbing up a wall, and whenever you swim into a wall, your toxic mist will make a noise. It's kind of like setting up a tripwire, so you can actually like throw down toxic mist on walls without needing to try and commit to baiting them. And if someone happens to even touch the mist, it sets it off. You hear the mist, and it's like, oh, someone's coming from that direction, and then you're a Slosher, so you press that R twice and they're dead.
While that is all well and good, I am excited for those new weapons, but we have failed to mention the other new special in the room, is possibly a lot better than Super Chum and a lot more practical, especially since it is on a better weapon. KRAKEN Royale is the other new special. It is, I guess, kind of a returning special from Splatoon 1, just KRAKEN, but obviously way, way worse, because if KRAKEN was in this game in its original form, it would be kind of broken. But it's been released with this patch alongside Super Chum, and it is on 2 weapons as of right now. 96 cal Zekko with Splash Wall and KRAKEN, and Crack-On Splat Roller with Squid Beacon and KRAKEN as well.
We're both so mid, but it still doesn't matter because it's special busted. Like,
yeah,
it's actually ridiculous. So these, like, I feel like they did this intentionally. There was like 2 other weapons that could have easily got on KRAKEN. Maybe 3 actually. Like I guess Zap, Try, and L3, especially L3.
Sploosh.
Yeah, 4. And see, you know what, dude, every weapon in this patch could have got a KRAKEN, you know. TJ as well.
Yeah, you're right.
Not rapid.
Oh, Neo Splash! Come on, guys. It's not. It's not give Splash everything, dog.
They already have.
They already have everything. They have the ability to just hunt the crabs whenever they want. That's like a superpower that I wish I had ever since I was a kid. Like, it's a sick man. I don't know what to tell you.
I prefer KRAKEN personally.
Yeah, I think I also prefer. But KRAKEN is a fantastic. It is such a great special, but it's so unfortunate that it's on pretty mid weapons. The only one that will probably still see play.
No, it is fortunate. It is a good thing because 96 is good. Don't get me wrong, but people will get frustrated by it because it sometimes doesn't work properly. Or actually, you know what? No, it does work properly, but working properly means that it misses. So that's gonna annoy people.
Yeah, that is very true, because I've been playing 96 a lot the past couple of days because it is so fun. I love KRAKEN. It's such a fun special. And there is times where there's like a guy who's like so one shot. You're like, okay, all I have to do is just hit 1 bullet, and your bullets come out at 1 bullet every 1 second, and you're just missing every shot, even though your reticle is directly on top of him. It is really, really unfortunate, but that kit is just so good for 96. The 96 might just still see play anyways, where KRAKEN is just strong, or a team wants KRAKEN. Because recently it has been experimented with. Seafoam, for example, have been experimenting with it. Madness recently has been playing a lot of at 96, and it seems to be actually pretty. It seems to be going pretty well for them. Because recently, most recent tournament that they played yesterday, Tropical Throwdown, they came 3rd, and they were running 96. So there is some merit to running it, and KRAKEN is just ridiculously strong, especially on tower and a little bit of roam.
It is mainly just KRAKEN that's the reason people don't play 96. 96 has like good things, like it ranges machine, it has Splash Wall to put in front of Stamper and Crab, so that's like not bad, but it is mainly KRAKEN. It's an 8-second invincible special that can just stagger opponent's positioning so easily, it can get kills so easily, it kind of just does everything that you want it to. The only thing is that obviously, if you go too deep with it, you're basically just a sitting duck by the end of it, right? So it does have weaknesses. You have to use your. It's not like it's completely brainless. You have to think while doing it. It's also not a panic button because it doesn't get its invincibility immediately like it did in the first game. Thank God. Because that would be awful.
It also has it also like the fact that it is a squid or an octopus. God, I hate thinking about like the fact that there's an octopus kraken now. Like it just looks so mid compared to like the
so bad.
the inkling kraken. All right, like that inspires fear, right? That like you see that thing, it's just a squid, but it's big and it's beefy and it's going to mess you up, right? But like you look at the octo kraken, it's just kind of like. It looks really awkward because they're trying to do like the exact. I feel like the design of it, they're trying to do the exact same thing as with the squid kraken, right? But that doesn't really work for like the octopus like shape. Like the octopus shape is like so rounded, so like just making it like trying to make it look bigger and beefier just doesn't really work because you've gone from having.
It's just friend shaped.
Yeah, it's still too friend shaped. Like
It's like, oh wow, friend, and it's to charge.
we already have it. I mean, yeah, like we don't need more friends as well. Like Super Chump has been added this update. Like we already have enough friends.
What, 12 friends? How many chumps is
Yeah,
there?
12 friends. 12 friends.
12 friends. 12 friends.
What I think is quite funny about the Octoling Kraken is I have a clip of like the early patch where I was getting chased by an Octoling Kraken, and there was one point where I was like, okay, I must be fine. This thing's not chasing me anymore. I look behind me and there's just this massive, blue head chasing me. Because the other one,
dude, Kraken, it's so funny.
It is really funny.
People, it's such a jump scare special because no one's used to it yet.
Yeah.
Like getting chased, but like I've actually had PTSD with Kraken. Like when I see it, I'm like, oh, I'm dead. Like I instantly just assume I'm dead because of Splatoon 1. Every time I've actively not tried to kill it in its first frames because I just assume it's invincible. I try and run immediately. Like I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. I'm dead. I gotta go. It's a terrifying special. It just comes out of nowhere. In this VC in particular, we've had a lot of screams of Krakens when they sneak up on you. That's not an uncommon occurrence, and I'm sure it will be for a little while.
Yeah, me in particular, they scare me. They're spooky. I'm just chilling on zone, sharking in my normal spot, and this 96 just drops into zone like a fucking insane being, and just Krakens on top of me, and I'm like, oh well, time to run, time to panic.
My first thought whenever like I hear a Kraken or I see a Kraken out of it is I'm just like, okay, right, where are the nearest walls? Where are the nearest grates? Because Kraken, like, I found it's not like that great with moving, like transitioning from like floors to walls, because obviously the main way that you're killing with Kraken in this update is with the new spec, like that charge, right, which just you charge forward in a straight line. But while you're doing that charge, you can't actually go up walls. So what I've been doing with like playing as Krakens is I've been baiting them into using that charge and then just using that time to like back up, get myself on some elevated ground, and then forcing the Kraken to keep either trying to chase me, which means they have to go up the wall and then the Kraken have already run out and I could just kill them straight after, or they have to give up the chase and then just kind of like sit there for a couple of seconds. And I'll tell you what, as scary as Kraken is, it's really, really funny just watching a Kraken just like kind of sit there and like pondering what it's doing with its life. It's like, like it knew it could have gotten a kill, but it didn't, and now it's just sat there like, bro, what am I doing?
Have you heard about what Komodo dragons do? Apparently, I heard this years ago, so I might be thinking of a different animal, but I'm pretty sure it's Komodo dragons. If one gets you in its sights and chases you, and let's say like it's a cartoon, you climb up a tree to get away from it. Okay, I don't know why you do that, but you climb up a tree to get away from the Komodo dragon. He will sit there at the bottom of that tree for hours, days, until you come down because he is hungry. He wants his meal. It's like he's committed to that one meal, and he won't he has that one craving, and it's you. Okay, so and if you ever you come down, it eats you. Right, that's how it does. That's how it goes. That's what the Kraken's like. Except the Kraken doesn't have that kind of patience. It only lasts for 8 seconds and it goes away. So you don't have to worry about that. And it also has end lag. Komodo dragons don't have end lag. So anybody complaining about Kraken, just imagine it was a Komodo dragon.
Yeah, this Komodo dragon, there is just a colossal skill difference between a Kraken and a Komodo dragon. Like, if somebody used Kraken on a Komodo dragon, my money's on the Komodo dragon every single time, right? Like,
exactly, yeah.
I'm not buying anything else.
The thing is about that is that, Komodo dragons are real, Kraken is just not real, so, I don't know, guys.
It's fake.
There's some Kraken sailors may say otherwise, but Some of these guys, they tell some stories.
They do sell some stories where a massive squid attacked their ship, and it was like just not. It was just
This
nothing.
is-
The ship got rocked in the waves. Like, bro, relax.
I mean, like, honestly, the sailor like getting terrified by a giant squid like rocking the boat. Like, why didn't they just put a Komodo dragon on the boat?
Yeah, exactly. They don't know the strategies.
Like honestly, like there's a lack of brain cells there. Like,
Komodo dragon clears.
yeah.
That is a funny thing.
This-
I
this-
don't know why.
Uh,
I'm gonna go a little tinfoil hat here, but I know that it's in the weird, right? In the weird, it's weird how a lot of sailors who have these experiences, they all come up with like the same story or like the same kind of story. Why? Why
but
are they all
practiced together?
Oh yeah, they all have their little group meetings. And they say, "All right, we're gonna make up a story, Les."
Conspiracy theorist sailors.
Who says in their free time they like to fucking sail? No one. No one does that.
no, unless you're
It's
really
like real
rich.
people,
Nah,
that's
unless you own like a boat and you're like, yeah, I own a boat and I go to sail on it. Like, you know, you only mention it as a flex,
to
right?
Sit there. That's
Yeah, imagine you're on a date and then they're like, so what do you do? So what do you do for a living? I sail. Like, oh no, you don't say that. You say something. I don't know, cooler.
Exactly.
I go catch some waves.
No, I fucking
catch the
collect
waves.
boats.
That's it. Boats. I don't even like boats. I just collect them.
Exactly.
So that's
No,
the
I-
takeaway from today. Sailors, the Kraken isn't real, and the sailors also are not real.
See,
Very,
I
very
Well, no,
important.
they're real. It's just there's only 3 of them. That's
Three guys.
They are all the same. But now going back to talking about Splatoon.
I was gonna say I had a thing about boats. So like, so like honestly, I don't mind boats in general, but like, you know, like one boat where they're probably not gonna have any Komodo dragons. The Manta Maria, one of the new maps added in the most recent Splatoon update.
I
You know?
hate this guy. That was
I don't like this. but
I
that was
stole
good,
your
yeah.
segue. Get absolutely nailed.
Exactly, man. I got stolen.
Nah,
No,
honestly,
I
I'm
think
so happy Manta's back.
Manta Maria, that is a good one.
It's a great map.
Out of a lot of the Splatoon 2 maps, I am happy that it's back, but also kind of not, because I'm afraid of Eliter and Crab and stuff. I've not really played it enough. Because people are like, whenever we've played it in scrims, it's been against like...
Not
everyone's
crap
just, like,
spam.
yeah, using the new toys like 96 and 96 and 96.
They
Usually
do Splash
96
as well, actually. Like, don't forget the Splash.
We played against KRAKEN not KRAKEN, sorry, Rapid the other day.
Oh,
as
dude,
well,
don't get me started on
And
that
Sam
shit.
was fucking complaining his arse off.
Rapid, dude.
Fantal was just fucking him up.
No, 'cause
Yeah.
I have a serious Rapid issue. I have done for like 4 years. I can't fight Rapid, especially when it's like because it was Uprising and they were playing with Lulu. So I'm dealing with a bomb spamming brush and killer whale like constantly and taunts and rapid chip, and I'm like, dude, I'm dead. Like, approaching is a bad idea, but it's a good strategy at the end of the day.
Rapid is definitely one of those. Well, yeah, Rapid is definitely one of those weapons that I do think is kind of being slept on currently as like a decent weapon against just the current metagame. It's really good in the machine, as we have found out. It's also, yeah, the hard way. It's also not bad against Crab. It's not perfect, definitely not by any means, but it definitely doesn't hard lose to just full Crab comps because of the fact, well, it's a blaster. It can shoot behind it, and it can also inkjet it as well. Now, I know inkjet gets shredded very quickly by Crab, but now with the buff, it kills it in 2 shots. And
OS, it can one-shot it.
there you go.
Yeah.
And you could probably run OS on Rapid and get away with it. And the thing,
Those are on drop roller.
Why?
good.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't get drop roller on Rapid. Yeah, that's that.
Why? Why would you ever?
For inkjet, I guess.
But
I mean, yeah, so you can roll away from being inkjet landing.
Nice. if you're not dead in your inkjet landing.
You give up your opportunity to one-shot the crab, you know, like actually get rid of the crab before it just shreds your inkjet, just so you can do a sick roll after it.
That crab was totally fine, but did you see that roll though?
Yeah.
Did you see that roll?
No, you
roll
won't
was so
be
roll
able
that
to
is.
do that roll because you'll die in your shit special.
Yeah.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
That is going to be why people don't really care much for this rapid, is because inkjet is just bad. Like it has some options now. Like, oh yeah, sure, it can do this and that to crab. Yeah, that's better than what it was before, but it's still bad. Like the amount of times that you'll just hit someone with what would have been a 2-shot kill in Splatoon 2 and just isn't anymore for this and that reason. It's very consistent. Like I swear the hitbox is it just smaller or something? We've had this conversation before. I forgot like what it actually is.
The hitbox is like definitely smaller for like indirects than it was in Splatoon 2. I think they did that because like obviously in Splatoon 2 you had the legendary ability Bomb the Fence Up DX. It was so sick that they added DX in the name in all caps. So you know they promoted Bomb Defense Up to Division X, like clearly. But that also blocked the damage from specials in that game. Whereas the sub defense up in Splatoon 3 does not actually protect you against any damage dealt by specials. And one defense was commonly ran to make indirects go from a 2-shot kill to a 3-shot kill. So I think the devs realized that a lot of people were doing that and were like, okay, right, we're gonna change sub defense up so that it doesn't affect specials. But just to be on the safe side, we're going to neuter inkjet considerably, which honestly I think kind of sucks because like we can all agree that inkjet was probably the sickest special in all of Splatoon 2.
Right? Yeah, actually, no, probably about it. It's just by far. I don't think it's even close.
Hey, I can say bubbles though. I can say bubbles.
I would still
Bubbles were so lame. You lot are on something else.
I love bubbles. It's such
I
a
just
fun.
loved using them.
Silent Squeezer player.
I like K Junior.
Squeezer and K Junior. So the bubble weapon and the best main weapon in the game, who also had bubbles. Okay, buddy. Okay, guys.
They were stupid and it was funny.
They were very stupid and very funny.
Yeah, so not bubbles. Inkjet. There was one cool special in that entire game, and it was inkjet. What else was there?
Bubbles. It was bubbles.
It wasn't bubbles.
Tenta missiles, guys. Right, guys? I love Tenta missiles. No, okay.
You're completely alone. You better spawn some super chumps to back you up on
You
this
need
one, Chris.
friends.
You ain't
You
got
need
no friends to this
allies.
argument.
I don't even think the
You
super
need
chumps
to-
would agree with me, bro. Not true.
Yeah, no, they're not. They'll fucking explode as soon as they hear you
That's
say
true.
that.
But yeah, talking about there is rapid, but there's also a couple of other weapons that can see play and probably should see play, but they're just not seeing play, I guess. The main two at the moment are ZF Charger and Custom Jet. And now ZF Charger is seeing more play at now, I think. But towards the start of the patch, many people just really weren't trying it. But the other weapon,
Can we just agree to call it Firefin?
I'm gonna call it ZF because I prefer that.
You're weird.
Can
Yes, sir.
everyone call it Firefin, please?
So we have Firefin, we have ZF, which I do not understand. My man's is saying it's Z, and he's British, and then then there's me who's just you know what, fucking best of both worlds, Zekko Fin.
I know. It's
Like-
Okay, Zekko Fin, I can agree. Yeah, let's go Zekko Fin.
What?
I like that better. Zekko Fin. Yes. Because we're weird.
Firefin is, it is Firefin.
But it's also Zekko.
It is charged with Splash
Zekko
Wall.
is not a
Yeah.
fucking brand. Zekko is boring as fuck.
What do you mean Zekko's
Bro,
not a real brand?
You see the black arrow bands? Let's go hard.
You know what? He's got
Those
a point.
are
It
fucking
literally
boring.
gives you special saver. That might be the most
Exactly.
boring sub in the entire.
Nah, but the Zekko actual gear does generally look pretty sick. You have to admit that. Surely.
Look at the old brands. That's right. Pulling up the brands. What we got? Firefin has got some. Actually, no.
You're telling me you wear a fucking motor. Oh, what the hell is this? MTB helmet. Incredible.
Yeah, safety first. What?
Yeah, safety first. Yeah, because you definitely.
Wait,
gonna
there's actually just a brand called
Tenacity
C++.
as main ability, or
I didn't even know, but there was actually just a brand called C++. I didn't even know that.
It's the newest brand in the game.
That's the newest brand in the game. It's a collaboration between Zekko and
A
Firefin.
flare bowler? That goes fucking raw. What?
It does go pretty good. Now, talking about the weapon specifically is like, I think it's an interesting weapon, but I would love to hear your opinion on it, Snipes, because well, you play Char, funny enough, and because her name is called Snipes, so it would make sense that I'd like to hear your opinion about it specifically.
I mean, it is pretty much the best kit it could have gotten. Like, Wall is so good for this meta as well. Like, so you can actually like two-shot crab when you're running Shredder, because that's something it had, but it just had Vac before. It's like not really usable. And then Strikes is something you can actually charge to be useful instead of Vac. So it's just like really good team player instead of fucking
Stupid ass Vac. Thank God it finally got an actual special.
That's actually a funny thing with everybody was so wrong before Splatoon 3 came out. We were like, oh yeah, tactical on Vac, okay, gonna be busted. They're gonna be so good. And then the Splatfest thing dropped, and we were like, oh, tactical is busted because it is actually very good in Turf War. And it was like, wow, what the fuck? This weapon Zap is insane. This is ridiculous. And then for like the first week in Splatoon 3, I was like, oh, Zap Jar, this is great, this is great. And then all of a sudden it just wasn't anymore because then we were like, hang on a minute.
All of a sudden every team had a minimum of 2 sloshing machines, and
like
then it's like, oh well.
Well, Zap is
And
not
then became-
viable. Because
so
if you just
funny
feed with tactical, like, you just die, and then you lose all your positioning, and then you die again.
They made the tactical as that 180 points for special. Surely that fixes it, right?
Surely it
Right?
can get it about half a second faster. No, it can get it half a second faster.
Yes, so
Useful,
good.
great.
So playable. It's so funny how wrong I was about Black as well, because I thought that would be like the best special in the game. Best special, can't wait. And I was playing 96 on like release night. I was like, yo, 96 is broken. There's like a clip. There's like my first clip for Splatoon 3 on my Twitter, where it's like it's Rainmaker Scorch, and they pop the rain, and I'm in Vac, and I just suck up the pop, and I don't die, and then I kill someone with Vac. I was thinking to myself, this is like the best special ever. And then about 2 weeks later, everyone's playing machine, and I'm like, never mind.
Simply shoot up. And
Yeah.
you can just hit the person from behind. Yeah, so like Vac has some fringe uses, like I know a lot of JP teams use a VJ in Rain. It's not uncommon when JP doesn't play Rain very often. In fact, JP plays in solo queue, absolutely suck at Rain, and I will not be told otherwise. They're terrible.
They really are bad
Oh
at Rain.
god, you a Japanese solo queue.
Everyone. They don't do it.
Japanese solo queue, like, okay, right. That's like the hot thing on Twitter at the moment. Is like people like ranting and raving about Japanese solo queue. Like some people are saying the Japanese solo queue is great. Then you have all the top players who switch to Japanese solo queue, and then they're molding because everybody else has also switched to Japanese solo queue. Like as if they have some sort of privilege. I don't get it at all personally. But either way, like. I played Japanese solo queue for this season. I played Western last season. I got 2900 with Inkbrush Nouveau, God knows how. And then this season I was like, you know what, I want to actually play, like, you know, I want X rank to be a challenge. I want to learn things. I want to play with better players. I'm going to pick the Japanese region. I picked the Japanese region. My played zones is beautiful. It's great. I love it. I actually like learn things from solo queue. It's insane. And then I played Rainmaker. And I played Tower. And I play Clan Blitz. And suddenly I am reminded that, funnily enough, your nationality doesn't determine anything about how good you are at the video game.
Yeah, it really is quite funny. It like I think my favorite thing in Rain, or like some of my favorite things in Rainmaker were like, it was like one of the when I was playing X, I think me and you Spore were playing X around like similar times. Playing enough because it was.
Oh yeah.
We were playing both zones rotate. We were playing this zones rotation, and then there was a Rainmaker rotation right after. I just remember it was like Haggle zones, or sorry, Rainmaker, and
No, it was here.
I mean Rainmaker.
Rotation after, yeah.
And it was like there was one point where like we literally I was in crab, we could have ran the rain, or someone could have ran it. I can't. It's not crab, obviously, and like they just don't take it. They don't run past the pedestal. I'm just and then someone runs past after I'm in crab, and I'm like, okay.
JP solo, very good, very enjoyable. I think it's not. It's an interesting decision to make. What was it? Region locks, and then have you be able to choose. Is pretty bad shit insane, because obviously we got to a point where in Western solo, if you got to 2-8, which is not even a high XP in this game at all. I got 2-7-20 from 2 series in X rank last season. I did I did the calcs, got a 2-5, and then one more I got 220 points for the 2-7 from a 3-0. Right, 2-8 is not high in this game. But the moment I got to 2-8, I couldn't find games in West. Couldn't find it. None. 0. Zilch. Actually, well, I say that. I was able to get a few. I was able to get, on my last day of playing, I was able to get 6 games in an hour and 20 minutes. Which is, it's not right. Like, I wasn't even that high. Like, there's people over 3k, like Twig, obviously we saw on Twitter, had like #1 in everything in West. And he was at like 3.3k, 3.2k. How? God knows how he was finding games. It makes no sense.
What's funny is like 6 is like above average as well.
Yeah, I was about to say, right, like I mentioned earlier, I got 2900 with Inkbrush Nouveau. I was like, by the time when I was about to hit 2.9, I was finding on average about like 3 games of rotation. I literally found love before I found enough games in X rank to get myself up to 3k. Like,
oh my god.
At this point, it's like, if it's that difficult to find games, like, it's just not worth your time. Like, it actually just isn't worth your time if you're just like sat there like trying to get a game, and then you don't find games over and over and over again. It's so disheartening, because you just want to play the game, and then the game is like, no, you are good, so you have high number. Because of high number, we shall punish you. And
wasting your time,
honestly, it just it feels like a waste. It just feels like wasting of time, and especially like, you know, a lot of the like Splatoon like player base is starting to get a little bit older now. Like, we're all like around like college, university age here in the UK. So for reference, like for those of you in the United States, that's like you're roughly around your last year of high school, or like starting college, and you know, we're all gonna have less time to play this game like the older we get. So we may as well, like, you know, when we are on the game, we want to enjoy as much as we can, and we literally can't because, you know, we cannot find the games that we need in order to, you know, play the game.
For a lot of people for a long time was a lot of like, it's just one of those games where you're like, oh, I've got like 30 minutes to kill, and you could probably get like 4 or 5 games in that time back in the day. Like, you just hop on and play. It wouldn't take long. If you're like, especially if you're, you know, you're a more casual player and you're playing 2 or 4, those are 3-minute games, and you should be able to find those pretty quickly, I'd hope.
You can get like 8-9 games.
Yeah, literally. You can get loads of games, just get a few in, have some fun matches, whatever, and just go about your day without really thinking twice about it. Now, if you play X rank and let's say you're going for high points, you want to have that feeling of like that feeling of accomplishment, to, you know, have a high power, all this kind of stuff. Or even if you're just doing it to get better, for good practice, it could be whatever your goals may be. You have to dedicate way more time than you should ever need to dedicate for that. And then this creates a whole other issue with having these 2 different regions. People in West are going to be like myself, because I got to a high XP and I couldn't find games, and it's pissing me off. I was like, right, so next time I'm going to play JP, so then I can actually find games when I get a higher power. Cool. How many people are going to be thinking the exact same way? And we're going to get the point where everybody, as the modes go on, everybody's just going to be in the same queue. Like, everyone will just be like, in West, it'll be like, I can't find games, there's not enough people on, I'm going to go join JP because everyone else is there. How long is it going to be before just everyone's in the same queue anyway? And then what was the whole point?
Yeah, that's like the biggest thing, I think, is that it's... I feel like at the moment, even though I'm not really that high in power. Like, I think most of my powers are just like 2.5. I think I've got 2.5, 1.24. And I think I was playing a TC rotation the other day, and I was in the same lobby as like I was constantly with like 3 people over and over and over again.
Same 3 guys, yeah, because there's no one else playing, or they simply won't match you up with anyone else. Yeah, no, it's happening a lot.
It was funny because I was just playing against Nepia every single game. It was funny for the first 2 because he was winning both games and pretty comfortably, and then his team kind of threw at the end, and then we won both times. Like
that happened to me the other day as well. And this is in JP, so there's more people, and I was only at like, I think I was just fresh out of calc, so I was at like 2.4, 2.5. and I was playing. I had just played a scrim against Fanta, and then I hop into solo. Guess what I find? On the enemy team twice in a row. I got very lucky because I was able to win those. It's like on the first game, I had like 3 comp players on my team, including me, and he didn't. And so we won like that game, and then the second game, and then the third game, me and him won the same team, and then we won. And it was like so for an entire series, I had like the same guys, and he wasn't the only person that stayed for all 3 of them as well. There was another 2 people that were like swapping teams as well. So there's like for the entire series, I guess it is only 3 games. It's not like unheard of. That would have happened in 2 as well. It's not too insane right now. It's just my thought process is that it could get worse. Like the high, bear in mind, I was only at like everyone's around about the same power now because it's like fresh out of calcs. But as the higher power we go, we are literally only gonna be finding the same people, like the whole time. And if they're not on, it's gonna be no one. And that may even be in JP. Because I'm not quite sure. I don't really follow that many Japanese players. But I don't know if they've been having issues finding games in due time. I'm not sure if that's a.
I think the issues that they've been having is when they get into lobbies with like Western like players or like full Western lobbies. I was playing a rotation at like 1 in the morning for some God knows why, and like I got to experience 2 of the finest issues that this everybody switching to JP has like presented recently. The first of which being I have to play against a bunch of games against Peace. Who, if you didn't know, they were the best blob in Splatoon 2. Like they primarily played like blob with Zekko, but they were just like far and away the best blobber. I think they got like 2,900 with it. And like for most blob players, they were a massive inspiration. They're still playing it in this game, and I have to play a bunch of games against them. But playing a bunch of games against blob, Japanese blob specifically, it highlights if you ever need to learn like on which screen like something needs to look like it kills, like that's how you play JP solo queue, because the number of times that I would on my screen dodge pieces like blobs, but on Peace's screen I'd be hit by all of them, so I would die. And I was like, what? The you do feel the effects of latency a lot more, and in a game like Splatoon 3 that matters a lot more, considering that the netcode that we do have, and the fact that certain specials, like especially like Trizuka, it has to kill on the enemy screen and not on yours, which means that essentially if you're playing a Trizuka weapon, you are nerfed unless you have the ability to read the the Japanese player's movements like 1 or 2 seconds in the future, because you has to hit them on their screen and not on yours. So you basically have to anticipate latency when you're aiming Trizuka. So there's an actual like latency advantage there, or disadvantage rather. But the other thing was the fact that all Western lobbies are still going to happen in JP solo queue, right? Like I've seen like here and there like people getting into lobbies and supposedly like solo queue meant for Oceania, Southeast Asia, and it's just full of people from Europe and North America, like just wanting to experience what it's like to play the like quote unquote better version of solo queue. And ultimately, like, if everybody's picked JP and then the lobby is just full of Western people anyway, what was the point?
There was none. There was,
especially if it keeps matching you up with like other Western people, because obviously you're still closer like geographically.
It's funny. It's just happening a lot in this game. They keep on adding features like the region split, but you get to choose which one. That sound amazing on paper. When people first heard that, I was like, oh, it's sick. I get to play in JP. Blah, blah, blah. But in practice, there's just so many problems. Like I think Open is the other big one. Open should be really good. It's like, oh yeah, I could get there, go in a much more relaxed environment to play ranked modes. Except if you play solo and you run into a team of 4, that's just a guaranteed loss, because I'm just one guy playing against 4 people who are voice chatting and maybe calling out, or like maybe they're 4 comp players, and it's just completely unfair to people that are just like, I just want to grind gear, I just want to play some fun ranked modes, and you're just not gonna have fun because you're just running. And in Open, it's like a much more exacerbated issue. The amount of times that we've played an Open rotation and just played against the same 4 guys, like over and over again, like 6 games in a row, over and over and over again, right? Like it's the most dysfunctional thing ever. And there's a lot of things in this game that like that. It's like, oh, that looks like such a good idea, and then in practice it just doesn't really work. Like,
this is the thing. Like, I don't understand why it's taking them this long to add in League. Like, League was great.
Oh my
great for that. Bring it back, man.
League. Bring back
Such
League.
a great way of just like if you want like it's very similar to Open in the way that if say like I want to play the game right now but solo is terrible. It's like at the moment it's like Clams Wahoo Etail, which is horrific in X. But I'm like okay, I kind of want to play the game right now, but I can't play X because the rotation's terrible. Okay, I'll play a League and then I'll ask in Chew-Its or whatever and ask if someone wants to League and then maybe we'll get 4 and we'll quad. So it can be very similar to Open in that sense, but then it can also be like something to grind because it's very again similar to X in the way that you get a specific power after you play a certain number of games, and you're put on a leaderboard, and you get a lot of teams like some of the really good like League grinders, someone like Johnny from the UK. He used to grind League a lot towards the end specifically, and I can't remember what his power was towards the end, but I think it was 2.7 or 2.6 for quad.
It was. I think he got like a really high 2.6. It may have broken 2.7. I'm not sure. There were some Western players. I think Isabel was among them as well. A lot of us that did some League grinding. I remember me and Ibs did a little bit because we played with Isabel and Hazard. Now we always had Hazard host because he would get into JP lobbies who had much higher powers and could find games watchable consistently.
That was the League grinding strat.
You would play with
if
an
you just wanted a good League power, you play with a good Australian player. So you play with Hazard, you play with Nex, like you might play with Ardino or like Toby or something like that, like really good Australian players, and you just play with them, have them host, and then they give you constant JP lobbies. And because JP always had more people on, especially if it was a zones rotation, right? Like you would just play like you got to play like League and just get really high powers like fairly easily. Like the other thing as well is like it was really good, like, and it was a really good alternative to practice as well, because you could just team up with the same 3 people for like a 2-hour rotation and you constantly get different opponents every single game. So it's not like playing a scrim where you have to play against like roughly the same sort of game plans like for an hour and a half straight. You literally get to play against multiple different strategies and like adapt to those strategies over time. And honestly, it was a really good way to learn like how to improve. Like I did like multiple League grinding sessions like with Australians, but I remember there was also the League Rush tournament events. If you remember those
are great.
I remember playing one of those. It was like me, Getway, Isabel, and I think it was Ibs, and we actually managed to beat the this like pickup of Nex. Like I think it was like Nex, Hazard, Kiva, and Brian. And we had very close powers to the end of it. Ultimately, we won. I specifically remember it because Kiva's power went out.
What the hell? That wasn't with it.
Yeah, like I was with you. Sorry, I have bad memory.
I remember because I wanted to.
Yeah, but like League Rush was a really fun event to take part in, right? Like you got the badge at the end of it, but it was also fun to just grind League with like other comp players for a couple of hours, because League was also a fantastic like social opportunity as well. Like the number of times where like I've been able to like just catch up with people or like talk to people that I already know about something like just over League. It's like I guess it's like the Splatoon equivalent of like going and getting a coffee with someone.
It is actually. The thing, speaking about like the community side of things, it's like I don't know. I just felt like whenever like Chew-Its would League until like we would quad, or 2 people would twin, and there would be like 1 person in the VC. We would just be sitting there for like 4 hours just talking about whatever, and it's great. It really is just like such a great community thing. And there's also the whole thing of like even in the plus server, you got people asking to twin. You got people pinging, hey, +1 for twin, +1 for quad, and it's just like there's a good avenue for actually like meeting people in the Splatoon community sometimes, because even in some of the less competitive servers like Academy, for example, or
it's huge, isn't it? Because like especially in the more casual servers, people are just more social servers, I guess, or even lower level, whatever. It doesn't matter whatever facet you're from. League was like especially in in those areas. Like League was like people always pinging like I remember like years ago people always pinging up +3 league, +2 league, +1 twin or whatever. Really common. Like it was an avenue. Like a lot. I would not be surprised if a lot of current like higher level comp players could tell you a story about how they met one of their current fellow higher level comp players through league, and that's how they got into comp or whatever. Would not guarantee so many people could do that.
Yeah, it's just a bit annoying. It's annoying to me that they haven't. It's been 6 months since the game came out, which is quite surprising now. But it's been 6 months since the game came out, and they just haven't added League. And every single time as well, like the first update, I was like, okay, they don't add League in this update, that's fine. I don't think they did that last time. It took them quite a while to add League in Splatoon 2, but whatever, that's fine. I can live for now. We've got Open still, and X just got released. We're chilling. This one though, I don't understand why they didn't, because it's such an easy thing to add, and also it would make sense because they're adding another ranked mode, and they did it last season, and it would make sense. It makes sense to do it again. I guess they kind of added a new ranked mode this time in Table Turf, but that's not the same. And I don't think anybody is actually going to play Table Turf like super competitively. I think it's more of like a kind of like a casual sort of fun thing to do. If you're like, Table Turf's kind of fun.
Oh, you'd be surprised, right? The level 3 AIs on Table Turf are absolutely terrifying, and I honestly would not be surprised if like Table Turf actually starts to pick up. I mean, Dapper Productions has actually like allotted it so that there are Table Turf tournaments now happening on Sundays, which I believe it is every Sunday that there is a Table Turf tournament. Which, if there is, means that there's more Table Turf tournaments happening for EU in each month than there are Triton Cups, which is our Zones Only tournament that we have every other Friday. Which is quite funny, but I think it is a really good step in order to get a Table Turf scene established, because obviously, like, you know, in Splatoon 2, there was the existence of the salmon running scene, and it was always there, and people didn't really like talk about it. There wasn't really much of an overlap between like competitive players and salmon runners, except for obviously Brian, right? But in Splatoon 3, with the addition of Big Run, which is actually happening right now, as the time of recording, like suddenly the overfishing scene and the art of getting as many golden eggs into the basket as possible has suddenly like become a much more important thing. I mean, like, we all of us here have like studied some level of overfishing so that we can get them gains in salmon whenever.
In fact,
whenever it's a big run.
I asked Brian for overfishing tips towards the start of the game, because like salmon was so fun to play. Fortunately, I never really got onto it because it was fun for like the first month, and then we just never played it again, really.
Did he send you like a whole like essay, like a bunch of stuff or something, wasn't it?
He did, yeah, and all of it is very useful. I even still use it now, actually, because I learned it. It wasn't like crazy overcomplicated kind of stuff, but it was. It is very cool to see that like salmon is like, well, for one, it's actually gotten like meaningful updates to the mode, because in the 5-year run of Splatoon 2, salmon really only got like a handful of updates. I mean, they really didn't do too many like changes in terms of like making things easier, because the only one they did was make grillers easier, and they changed that to 5 eggs instead of 3 eggs. Because it was almost impossible before if you weren't like that great at salmon, which I wasn't. And like they rarely ever updated the mode, or they just the odd new map or the odd thing here and there. And this time we've gotten things like new Grisco weapons, new special waves, a lot of new bosses. We've got Big Run. More recently, in the new season, we've got Extra Work, which is like a new sort of thing that will happen this season at least twice, I think they said. Which looks really interesting, and it's great to see that they're actually trying to make every mode competitive, no matter if you're. I think it's great that they're trying to make the game accessible for everybody, because it's great if you're just a casual player who just plays every once in a while, because they're adding new specials already. They're adding all these crazy new weapons. There's 2 new classes. There's recently 2 new specials. They're bringing back specials that everybody loves, like KRAKEN, Zuka, Ink Strike, obviously in different forms, but still in the game. They're bringing back maps that everybody loves, like Manta, like Flounder. And a competitive standpoint, it's a bit upsetting for EU players, because EU players really just aren't getting much in terms of the competitive side, but JP players, most recently, they just had Koshin announced. NA players, they get like an open like every couple of months. If you're a Summoner player, you're gonna have a update, so on and so forth. So I think that's like the main thing that is so great about this game. Just talking about the game in general, is that they really are trying to make it accessible for everybody, no matter if you're a Salmon player, competitive player, casual player, whatever. And I think that's really something that, you know, we really should hail the devs for. Because I know there's been a lot of talk on Twitter about how the devs just kind of, no, they don't do a great job, and granted they don't, but they do do something.
The haters are correct.
You just made a whole point and then invalidated it in one sentence.
Okay, I probably should have worded this a bit better. Because
You might trip yourself up there, buddy.
You know what? You know everything I
okay,
just said
maybe-
for
maybe-
right out the window.
you suck at it. But no, it's interesting. It is great because they have done a great job on that. But the people who are saying that like, oh, the balance isn't great, they have a valid point. Funny enough, Krav has been in the game for 6 months and they have not touched it whatsoever. But they've nerfed Machine for some reason, a really ridiculously, well, not for some reason, for a valid reason, but they haven't nerfed Splash, the even more popular weapon that sees significantly more play, much more oppressive, and way worse for the metagame. But other than
I think
yeah.
before we wrap up, this is actually a pretty interesting topic to cover. Is like the balancing philosophy. We might be able to touch on that a little bit today.
Or lack thereof, maybe.
The balancing philosophy of Nintendo and so it's not just Splatoon. It's a very similar one that they've had for the last few years in Smash as well. But I'll get into that probably maybe another time. But it's what it seems like a lot of time, especially with Twitter, when the new patch notes come out and then like some things, especially with like this, like the random polls and random obstructions for E-liter and stuff like that. That honestly, the one on Mint Street, especially just the car just on the pole, is the funniest shit. That it's, the fact that I thought that was fake. I thought that was not real, and it is there in whatever. So it's stuff like that, and like the E-liter just being able to shoot under them. So now the E-liter actually has like a very similar angle to what it used to have, and now it just has cover while going for that angle, which is insane.
There's also like there's the pole in the middle of like Hagglefish as well, which is like, you know, you're supposed to stop elitists from just like sitting on like the gazebo, I guess, and like shooting across the zone. But it just means that like if you're playing like a charger with a bit less range, like something like a, you know, the new Z plus F, yeah, the new like the. I thought we agreed on Zekko Fin earlier. Anyway.
Yeah, I lied.
Anyway, like. There's like that new pole in the middle of Hagglefish, but if you're playing a charger with less range than E-liter, for example, like, you know, Zekko Fin, or if you're playing like Squiffler or something like that, you can use that pole as a right side peek advantage and just like shoot everything for like on the other side of the zone for effectively free.
Very goofy.
It is, yeah.
It like there's also some extra poles on the eel tail. The thing that I personally find really funny is they preemptively like added. Like, I reckon that they, like, weren't gonna do this, and then someone, whoever had the bright idea at Nintendo HQ, they were like, you know what, like, you know, we should do this on all these maps. Wait, hang on a second. This map that we've just designed, Umami Ruins, has the exact same problem. Because if you go on Umami Ruins, if you go on that little, like I guess, like turret, but, like, the cylinder, right? Like, the snipe cylinder, there is just a randomly placed, like, sign in that covers like the zone, and it's like, okay, why are you there? You don't really like stop me from sniping people on the zone. You don't really stop me from sniping people on top mid either. Like, you just make it awkward.
Bro, the amount of fizzy bombs I've bounced off that screen. Boing. Like, oh fuck.
Like, I don't understand what they're trying to do. It feels to me like there is a massive disconnect between like what Nintendo thinks the average player of this game is and what the average player of this game is actually. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do think that their balance philosophy is definitely something that, like, it's great in the short term. Actually, pretty good in the short term, because it's great to see, like, oh, you guys want answers against grabs? Okay, here's a Zuka buff, here's a stamp buff, here's an inkjet buff. Yeah, we want, Splash is ridiculously strong. Let's buff these other shooters so that Splash, so there's other things to contend Splash's presence in the metagame. They will nerf Splash probably next patch, or the patch in another month or so. And
that's gonna age well.
Hopefully. Well, hopefully.
We'll find out in a month and a half.
That they do. And if they do, well then funny enough, all these weapons that have just been buffed are just like are gonna start seeing play. Like 52, like T-Tech, like the weapons that people don't see play much because of the fact that Crab exists are not going to see loads of play because of Crab is now gone. I know that there is a second best shooter that is going to come and a third best, and it's just going to create this constant cycle of a weapon being way too strong and like absolutely oppressing everything else, and there's no reason to play anything else. And that is the thing that worries me the most, for sure.
The way I see it, like Splash will always have a place in the meta right now because of just the nature of its kit. It can fit any fucking role. You can run 4 of them and it won't matter, it's still good. It can be the best backline, it can be the best front line, it can be the best fucking support. Because of just its kit with burst, and then, oh yes, I can now be a backline with more range than Leader with Crab. And it's just like, unless they nerf it into the ground, which I don't see them doing anytime soon, it will always be good in my eyes.
It is extremely overbearing. I to be honest, I do see Crab going the same direction as Baller, or at least if like, I don't know. Obviously, the devs' philosophy has definitely changed since 2 because they did. I feel like they realized that they over-nerfed and over-buffed certain things. Baller, K52, likewise. So, they over-buffed the shit out of that, and they over-nerfed Baller. So, they nerfed things for the time. It was like, okay, now this is fine. And then because they made this fine, they made, let's say CDS with 52, right? They nerfed CDS because it was the best weapon in the game, and they were like, oh, it's fine now. And then when they overbuffed 52 and like Squeeze became popular and all this kind of stuff, CDS is also just obsolete. Like no reason to ever run it except for like, no, this is none. Like you're never gonna play that shit anymore. There's no point. So they just completely over-nerfed that into non-existence. That's what they did in 2. And they were like, you know, maybe it wasn't a good idea to buff missiles and stuff like that. And it was just a bad idea. So now in this game, they're like, right, we're gonna do this carefully. We're gonna Crab it. Like they're gonna be like, right, if we nerf Crab now, in like a year's time, it's gonna see no use. It's gonna be terrible. No one's gonna ever use it. If someone gets Crab on their favorite weapon, they're gonna be like, no, this sucks. I hate it. Like, they might not want to go that same way again. Which is why they're just being so. It does seem like overly careful, but at the same time, letting the meta find itself and let the game just play out is probably more healthy than not overall. But
That said, like, I understand that they are concerned. Obviously, like, you know, they don't want to over nerf things, but they also seem too conservative to buff things almost. Like, you know, you're talking about, you know, if a weapon, they don't want to sit in a year's time, like, a weapon gets Crab and then people are sad because it means that the weapon is unviable. And then, meanwhile, you have everyone whose kit, just like secondary kit, got an Ultra Stamp in the last 6 months. And, like, we're all just sat there in a corner just crying our eyes out because we're like, you know, we're just thinking about what could have been if our special actually worked. Like, what if it consistently blocked shots from the front? What if it actually, like, you know, had hitboxes that were better than Splatoon 2's because they made the hitboxes worse for some reason? They also made the damage exactly 100, like that was retained. Aside from throws now deal 220 damage instead of 120, but because the actual stamp does 100 damage, that means you can parry it with a squid roll.
I didn't know that.
I got him, GG's.
Your special that is designed to kill things, right, is bad at killing things. The only use that I have found so far for, like, Ultra Stamp outside of, like, you know, those rare situations where you're able to pop it and then consistently get value off of it, is throwing it at crabs. It's really good at killing crabs. If you just angle it, like, just right, you can, you know, like, you basically just, like, catch the back of their head, you just, like, you know, zoom, like, give a nice haircut, and it'll just, you know, like, no more crab. But, you know, like, I don't understand why it is that they are applying that to crab, but, you know, we are already seeing that, you know, a weapon getting Ultra Stamp is, like, essentially a death sentence for it. I mean, like, the new L3 got Ultra Stamp, it got burst, like, the L3 mains, they saw that it had burst bomb, they were so happy, it was so great, and then it has Ultra Stamp,
Oh.
and all of a sudden that weapon is now just like okay, like at best. Lunar Blaster Neo has Fizzy Bomb, absolutely fantastic sub for the weapon, and then it has Ultra Stamp, and it's like, okay, like, but why though?
No, that can be said for like every Ultra Stamp weapon. Let me see them. It's like for Mini was the other one I was mainly thinking of.
Oh,
It's
Mini.
just burst bomb, crazy, brilliant, excellent, very solid. Like that was busted in the last game. Like burst bomb is like the sub that I think Mini wants, as far as I know.
Yes.
Ultra Stamp. And like, there's so many of these kits that if you just mix and match them, they're just immediately better. If you gave Mini, like Bobbler, burst bomb, so much better. It's
First
immediately.
of crab on L3. No, thank you.
Yeah, that's
Oh
the
my
other
God.
one that we don't talk
That sounds oddly
that we don't need to
familiar.
talk about.
Thankfully, there's not another weapon in the game that has Burst Bomb.
Oh,
crap,
that'd be really
right?
annoying.
Yeah, that would be
That would be
annoying.
that'd be really annoying. Like,
It's like
you know,
only
think-
200 points, and it's like it paints even better, and it has no RNG when it jumps, and that's it, I think.
And imagine if it was like
Bro, imagine, bro, you're like, you know, you reminding me of a weapon. I think reminding me of H3.
I was gonna say,
Oh
I was-
yeah,
I
H3's
thought
kind
it
of
was-
busted.
I thought it was Sploosh-o-matic. I thought it was Sploosh.
Nah, it's not Sploosh. It's not Sploosh. You know, it's something else.
yeah, Hammer is one of the most like used specials in this entire game. Like it has 6 reps. I think that's like tied.
I think 7.
7?
For Ultra Stamp.
I'm looking at it now. It is only 6 on my screen, unless it's a hammer weapon that I haven't bought. I'm looking at
no,
Spruce,
it's
Luna,
still-
L3, Brush, Wiper, and Mini.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's it. I think I bought everything.
Yeah, no, yeah, I have everything. Don't worry, you're right.
Yeah, it is only 6. It is
Why
only
are the
6.
worst ones
I
have the
lack the
most?
ability to
Back
count.
has 7.
Back has 7.
I was the one that had 7.
Whale-
I
Whale has
mean, that's
6.
because it was script and unscript,
Insert
right?
has fucking
Oh,
3,
yeah.
and I don't understand why it only has 3.
And it's all weapons that like make no sense. Like Try kind of makes sense, but really only kind of. And then
Strike
BP
has-
makes no sense at all. like, I mean, actually, well,
I mean, but guys, Ballpoint had Inkjet in Splatoon
it's
2.
fine. BP Nouveau is
Um,
coming, and it's gonna have Beacon Storm, and it's gonna be broken. It's coming, guys. It's coming. It's
Storm.
going.
I'm sure
It's not gonna.
is.
It's not gonna have Beacon Storm. It's gonna get
Alright.
Beacon, and then it's gonna get
Yeah,
Ultra
Beacon,
Stamp.
Ultra
It's gonna get Beacon Ultra Stamp. We're giving all of your weapon kits Ultra
this
Stamp
is-
now. I hope
You
you're
don't
happy.
give me bomb stamp on squeeze, please don't.
They're gonna do it.
That'd be so fun.
Stamp should be the
Everyone
only special
gets
in the
Ultra
game.
You're gonna take it, and you're gonna like it.
Stamp just reminds me of fucking. It's basically just the splashdown of this game. Like,
Yeah, it really
Same-
is, isn't
Being
it?
Actually,
played
yeah.
Viper and I don't know what tourney it was. It was against JP's, right?
Oh,
Idyll?
what was it?
Was it? I think that was Idyll, wasn't it?
I think it, yeah, I think it might be.
Idyll. He literally did not use the swing. He did not swing his hammer once. He just
He
threw
only
it.
threw it. Yeah.
Chucked it every
Yeah.
time.
Like so, and that's
That's
the best
consistent.
hammer weapon
Holding
by a
value.
mile,
Mm.
and it doesn't even
What-
use it really.
It's getting infinitely more value from just throwing it instead of
Yeah.
using the rush mode at all.
Especially now with the buff as well, because that was before the buff.
Yeah. So
Now
now
the
I
one
can one-shot crab.
the one thing with the patches is that they're mid-season or at the end of the season. One thing that people are speculating in the patch notes, just at the end, they mentioned that we plan on releasing the next update sometime around the end of March or the first half of April. Now, usually what they do is that after Splatfest, they would do a couple of days, would go by, and they would usually do Splatfest on a weekend, so they would end on like a Saturday, and then on the Monday we get the patch notes. Tuesday we actually get to play with the patch. So because there has been no Splatfest been announced, because they usually do it a month in advance, or roughly around a month. That kind of leads me to believe that, or some people have said that they actually might do monthly balance patches, which is something that I think Kara really wanted, and some JP players too have also mentioned it themselves.
I
But they
think
want
everyone
patch-
really wants it, right?
Yeah, it is. It's just those are the ones that have actually mentioned it. Everybody wants it, but
Have
nobody's.
like a big audience and get a lot of likes and stuff. So yeah, it's it would be nice. It'd be very nice.
It would be absolutely fantastic to be able to get more patch notes, because they really have dialed down on those. It is great to get like consistent like we know when the next update's it's going to happen in the midtime midtime of April. It's going to happen at the end of May. We're always know we're always going to get an update around the same time. That's great. I love that, because before it was kind of just like it's been 4 months. Where is update? You know, but now we know, and that's the good thing. It's just I really wish they were more frequent, because before it was we would get in I think roughly around 4-ish months, maybe even longer. We would get an update, a big update, very big content update, a lot of weapons, a lot of maps, maybe a couple of set changes and so on. Not balanced, just like different changes on maps, or we get a new map, whatever, or even a new mode. And now in this game, it's like, oh, I'm sorry. And you would also get balance patches in between both content updates kind of constantly, like maybe even every month, like every 2 months, every month, something like that. And they would be consistent. But in this game, it just feels like they're doing they're doing balance patches so far and few between, which doesn't sound bad. But in these patches, we're just getting bare bones changes. They are so scared to change things, and that's what really sets me the wrong way, because I would love to see them just being super bold with the changes they make, because they did that last game where they were really like, say, like, you know, they would buff a certain weapon that doesn't see much play, and it would actually start to see play because it's just been buffed to a certain point, and then now, oh wow, now there's more diversity in the metagame.
The problem is now they've
they're too scared. They're too scared to do it.
They went too far with that into where they overbuffed certain weapons and then overnerfed others, and then they ended up with like 6 viable weapons, or 6 truly viable weapons. There were some that like did well in niches and some in certain comps, but generally it was only like 6 that were like actually that good.
If you wanted to win tournaments, you would mix and match like the same sort of like 6-ish weapons, which to be fair is a better state than the current state of Splatoon 3, where you basically have like
4 or 3
weapons.
Like, wasn't it like at the height of like crab meta when crab was still 9 seconds? The whole meme in the comp community was like, oh guys, look at these really cool, interesting comps, and it's just 2 unique weapons. It's splash and machine.
It's just splash, and then like brush. It's like, like
not even brush, right? Not even brush. Like that weapon's like really good. Like I would start popping off when I saw a stamper on the top of my screen.
Yeah.
Like that's how bad it was. It was just like, okay, right, this team is like splash machine. Okay, fair enough. I've seen this a million times before. And then I see splash machine stamper, and I'm like, oh my god, they have a stamper. Let's fucking go!
I watch a JP tournament. They'd be like, Nourish is playing. It's like, stamper, yo, sick.
Yes.
And now everyone's playing broken.
Yeah, it is broken, but it's actually starting to see less play because there was another weapon called Viper. And everyone's playing Viper now.
No one's playing Viper, bro.
Nah, no
one.
one guy.
I'm surprised because people were talking.
I've been playing for a while, yeah.
In the comp community, it was like the talk of the thing, like Kyo winning that tournament over the JPs with Viper. It was crazy.
Pick it up, though.
No, but what I mean is that people were talking about it. People were like, "Oh, Viper's broken. It's got such a better main weapon." And even some people were saying it's better than Stamper. And still no one is playing it. Just
yeah, but I mean, I'm sure there are people who are playing it. It's just like there hasn't been a tournament. There hasn't been another like high level, top level tournament since Idyll, so we haven't actually seen anybody like who's been cooking with it like since Kia. So I'd imagine there are people that have been picking up.
Max does play it as well.
He
Max
did.
has been playing it. I know there are others like that try and play it, but they have like Max is one player. Like he obviously plays a lot of machine, and maybe Slosher as well, but then also like tries to play Viper as well because he knows it's good and he wants to get good at it. So there's gonna be people like that who have like their main, and then they want to learn Viper, but it's gonna be quite a long learning curve to be equally as good at the Viper as you are with your old main. So you know, especially when you play especially like him when you're playing a weapon as broken as machine, you know, trying to make another weapon be better than that, it's gonna take a lot of work.
But yeah, speaking as well about Idyll as well, is that was a tournament that had a restrictive format, which is something we don't see very often. Which I can't remember the rules, but I believe it was specifically, but it was things like no double crab, no special charge on missiles, booyah, and crab. You couldn't run 2 of the same weapon and it was a really interesting format because obviously at the time we've got most comps are just triple splash machine, and it's boring to see that at the end of every tournament where it's just who dies at a certain point in the game, game over. Well, in this, obviously there is going to be. I think the worst part of it was that people were starting to get a bit annoyed at beta because it's like there would be a optimal comp, and I think optimal comp was
no one was getting annoyed at the TO directly. Some people were like, "Oh wait, the format's flawed." And it's like, yeah, sure it is. But what I know that beta specifically got annoyed by was that the feedback channel was looking very barren. And like people would go to Twitter and
everybody. It's like something that I'm a little bit torn about personally, because it's like, obviously tournament discords have a feedback channel. If you want to give feedback to the TOs, give it to them via the feedback channel, please. But there's also if that's the only way that people are giving feedback, then any and all feedback provided to these tournament organizers is done via these like channels that are only in certain Discord servers, or only through through this like very closed off means. Like being able to like openly discuss like whether a tournament was good or not, and why it was good or why it wasn't so good, like I think is a really good thing to have. Unfortunately, the main website that the community seems to use for this is twitch.com, which needless to say, having discussions on that website is a complete waste of your time. Don't try it. It's no point. And it's like it's like you have two extremes, right? You have like the extreme, like you have like the closed offness of like a Discord like feedback channel, which it lets you directly tweet to the TOs, and if you want to just give like feedback and be done with it, that's like the perfect way to go about it. But if you want to just like talk about the tournament, and like obviously feedback gets generated as a result of that discussion, you have to go to an entirely different platform, which is completely disconnected from the Discord server where that tournament is being run from. And it's like, I think that's probably why like a lot of feedback ends up on Twitter and not necessarily where it should be, because a lot of the feedback is only it only comes about once people have sat on their thoughts, marinated a little bit, discussed them with others. But that's being done on a separate website which doesn't promote discussion nearly as much as it promotes saying something and then refusing to elaborate on it.
Very abstract thought, that's what it's founded upon, and funny shit.
And it's very frustrating for TOs because they want to use those channels as a way of discussion. And the thing is about Twitter is that tweets are just disappear. There could be some great feedback but it's on Twitter and it just disappears after a day.
And then you forget about it and it's just irrelevant.
Yeah, and you forget about it.
It's food for thought that lasts seconds, it's like fast food for thought, so it's not like healthy food, it's fast food. It's just McDonald's fries that they put too much salt on, so you're gonna get a heart attack. It's that kind of food. It's really unfortunate. This has been a discussion in this comp community for ages. TOs are always annoyed by it. Every time there's a tournament where there is a lot of feedback, most of it goes on Twitter, and every single time the TOs are like, don't put it on Twitter, put it in the feedback channel. And I don't know why. I don't know why we have to constantly have this discussion, because it's so simple. It's so easy to just put it there. And I understand the whole thing of like, but likes, who cares, bro? You're trying to give the tournament some critical feedback. Please put it in the feedback channel that is a dedicated platform for it.
I think the thing that just gets me is obviously this discussion happens every single month, and it's a really easy fix, and we've already mentioned what the fix is. It just doesn't happen.
You have thoughts either, and you feel that you can't articulate them properly, don't say anything. You don't need to. Don't say it publicly, whatever. If you just say this format's dog shit on Twitter, and the TO sees that, they're gonna be like, well, that's a bit rude. It's not. I don't think anybody did that for Idyll specifically. I think maybe there was, I didn't see, but I think most of it was maybe just people were like. I think the main complaint was they didn't like the tournament became Stamper, Blings, or Splash Machine by the end, or Stamper or Wiper, one of the two. It just became that at the end, so people weren't happy with that.
But it's but then you think about it more, and it's like, well, what if? What if you put a different restrictive format? And then suddenly it's the same thing. It's like, what if you cut out those specials? Well, then something else is gonna come up. 50.
Yeah, exactly.
That's inherent competitiveness, right? The whole point of competition is you try to win, and you know, you can, like, different people are gonna put different amounts of effort into that, but that's the whole reason why you compete, right? You compete because you want to win, or you want to experience the joy of competing with other people, or both, you know, like, different people fall in different areas in that spectrum, and some people want to have their cake and eat it. But ultimately, right, like, competition is finding the strategies to win, and then using those strategies better than your opponents in order to win. Like, that's gonna happen whether it's a restricted format or not. And which is why I don't understand the complaint of, you know, oh, like, it just evolved into, like, you know, like this other comp, and then if you change the rules, it's gonna do it again. Like, yeah, that's how competition works.
Different.
Like,
Take it or leave it. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think, you know, I don't think going back to flings and comps was exactly what people were expecting or wanted out of Idyll, but that's how it was, and it was still a good event no matter which way you slice it.
Yeah, it was a breath of fresh air, and that's exactly what it was intended to do as well. The other thing that I really loved about Idyll, right, and I like, if you are a tier watching this, I sincerely beg, please stream on YouTube, because your bitrate will be higher, as I've been told multiple times whenever, like, you know, whenever I start thinking about streaming, I'm like, oh, hey, I should stream. And then someone's like, oh, you should stream on YouTube. And I'm like, yeah, fair point. Your bitrate is significantly higher, for one thing. But also, you can actually discover live streamers on YouTube, right? Like, when you're on Twitch, like, your traffic is very rarely going to come from people who just randomly stumble across your channel. They're going to come from people who already know vaguely who you are, who got directed to your Twitch channel, and are watching just because they happen to catch you live, or maybe they saw you tweet that you were live. Like, they have to come in through other platforms, whereas YouTube is a lot more self-sufficient. And not only that, but with YouTube, you have a lot more control over VODs, because obviously Twitch has this thing where it deletes VODs after a week now, unless you are an affiliate, in which case it deletes them after like 14 days, I believe. And, you know, with YouTube, the VODs can stay up indefinitely. Like, you can keep those VODs up for like forever, and you can preserve the history of competitive Splatoon. Because I think that's like a really big concern for, like, you know, especially these last few years, because a lot of like players who came up, like, sort of like when we were all starting competitive, right? Like, you will remember, like, back in 2018, 2019, things like the Ink TV Open, like Invitationals, like stuff like that. Like,
now, like, you can still go back and watch them.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of sets, a lot of things that would have been lost to time from Splatoon 2, and especially Splatoon 1. Trying to find like big Splatoon 1 tournaments, impossible. Not happening, bro. There's very little to find. If it's not on Dude's channel, it ain't nowhere. Like, you're not finding it. So it's there's a lot of stuff that's been lost, yeah.
Yeah, the thing is as well is that I feel like as well, you lose a lot of that hype once the VODs are gone. You know, like, you lose a lot of that. Oh, it's like, you know, like, you
lose the memory.
Yeah, you lose the memory. That's it. Yeah, that's what I was going to mention, that you just, like, great. Yeah, let's say you have a great tournament. You know, I know I talked about it a lot with you guys, but it was, you know, our 20XX when we beat the JP team. Like, we can experience it, and of course we can go back and watch it ourselves. But just going on, oh well, I suppose we didn't get streamed, so my point isn't valid. But
because
but regardless, the whole thing is that, you know, say that you're in Grants, whatever, you know, big tournament, and you want to go back and watch that set for yourself. If you can't record it or didn't record it, and you get to experience it, all that again. You get to experience the commentary part of it, and after a couple of days, it's just gone. Unless you recorded that set or have it saved. Well, you can save it in Splatoon until a patch hits. It's just gone, and you can't save it anymore. And I do agree with you. I think on YouTube you can save those sets. You can go back and rewatch some fantastic sets, like watching Olive and Ghost, you know, play those JP tournaments like Platinum Cup, for example,
that rivalry from
or SS Open, where all of the only top 4 team before it was like their last big tournament before they disbanded. I loved watching that tournament on Twitch. I watched every single person POV, but now I can only watch Brian's POV, I think, because no one else has uploaded theirs.
I mean, that's better than nothing, right?
Yeah, better than nothing.
I think as a closing thought now, because we've rambled on for I don't know how long, like an hour and a half or something, maybe more.
Yeah, something like that.
So as a closing thought, just streamers or people who have the capability to stream, or people who just have the capability to record, maybe they get nervous on stream, like me. Definitely play worse when I'm streaming, a lot worse.
and when I'm aware, I'm also on stream. I also play with. But if you like us and you have the means to be able to record, do it. Record your sets and put them on YouTube, put them on whatever. I should really be doing it as well, because I've not been doing that. I've recorded a lot of sets that are just in the void. But either way, people who are much more active than me, perhaps that maybe have these sets recorded, and then you're thinking about, oh, do I put it on YouTube? Oh, no one will care. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if anybody else will care. There could be one viewer, and it'll be you, because you'll care. You'll go back and watch that set. That'll be good for you, and I guarantee other people will care too. So
you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how many people are going to like go out looking for gameplay, and then they might stumble across yours. They might resonate with it. Like I've had comments like in my YouTube videos where people are saying like, "Hey, you got me to pick up Inkbrush," and I'm just like, "Yo, what?"
That's honestly like the biggest goal as a content creator, just getting someone to play the game.
Yeah, inspiring someone to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like even something as simple as just uploading a tournament set that you happen to win and that you happen to enjoy playing in, right? That's all you need. You just need that spark like in someone else's brain to just get them to start trying something out, get them to start maybe enjoying themselves, and that's just how inspiration is.
I think that's a good idea.
You got a spark.
That's a good idea. I think as our last thing here, I think we should all go around in the circle and share which like if there was a player. It's all gonna be the same guy, I know for a fact. If there was a player that got us like sort of inspired to play the game, in whether it be in comp or to pick up the game in the first place, who would that be? Now, for me, and I would not be surprised if, as I said, if it's gonna be the same guy for all of us. It was that SMB2 dude.
Yeah.
I watched his videos when I was like, I don't know, a shitling. Just a little guy at the age of like 12 or whatever. I saw him playing. I was like, this game looks sick. This looks fun. This guy's really good at it. I want to be pretty good. I want to play this game. It looks fun. Back in like 2015. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna play this. And yeah, it's great. So yeah,
here we are.
So
5 years later. 5 years later.
For getting us into this game.
For me, the person that actually got me into this game, or just playing the game casually, was Chunga Connor. His playthrough of Splatoon 1 that I watched the game just looked so fun. And the funny thing is that Splatoon 2 was already up. So I didn't play Splatoon 1, I played Splatoon 2. That's the game that I started with. But him playing through Splatoon 1 made me want to play the second game, and I could because I had a Switch at the time. The person who got me into competitive though was, of course, that SMB2 dude. I watched his like 2018 video about like, oh, you should go to the academy, go to here, and so that is all I did at night, kind of. But yeah, that's basically it. 5 years later, here I am.
For me, at first, it was dude like getting first learning about competitive Splatoon, and then I like randomly found other servers, like Academy and whatever, before he made his video, and then the person who made me like want to play Charger and keep playing Charger was Brian. His fucking Brian and Remy, because of the Bright Nebula montage they put out. Fucking ages.
Oh yeah. God, that's such a good one.
Well, that's a classic.
Both of them.
2016, when I got the game, I used to 1v1 my fucking primary school friend over and over again.
Oh, that's so great.
I kept changing my name over and over again.
You still do that?
Until I landed on this one, and I kept it from then, from when I was fucking 11 years old.
Years.
God.
Yeah. For me, like casually getting into the game, it was actually Zach Scott.
Oh my God! Yeah.
I used to play loads of God and Warfare, like the first one, because I love that game. And then like I just see like Zach Scott's like started to upload like a new like YouTube series, and it's like episode like 5 or 6, and it was like he was playing the Inkbrush, and I was like, yo, what's this game? And like, there's an Inkbrush, like there's a paintbrush, it's a weapon, and he was playing it, and it looks so goddamn fun. Like it actually, like the game looked really fun, the weapon looked really fun. I was just like, okay, I really like this. I want to play this. And I've actually I saved up for a Wii U, got it for Christmas 2015. I wanted to be a kelp spoiler scope main, but I played sticks, so I sucked. And then I was like, I don't know what weapon I want to really like play in this game. And I remember like the first YouTube video that I ever watched was of Zach Scott playing the ink brush, and I was just like, you know what? That brush looked really fun. Let's give it a try. And then yeah,
The rest is history, innit?
funny how things turn out, innit? But comparatively though, it was of course that SMU2 dude. I watched the exact same video that Chris did. A little bit later than Chris, mind you, but I watched the exact same video about how to get into competitives. Join the Academy server. And to this day, I still talk in the Academy Discord server, basically only in the Brushes channel, but I still talk in that.
Influential video because I didn't mention it, but I also watched that one as well. I actually found one of my first teams through his like looking for team section in his server. So I'd imagine that video was extremely influential for a lot of people. If all of us were influenced by it.
I already knew about Academy before
This
his
guy.
So
This
it's so funny as well because
I literally don't even know how. I don't remember.
it's so funny as well because sometimes you just like I've seen Spore's old FA post, and you can still go back and look at your old FA post.
Please don't do that.
It's so funny.
For another day, the old FA post can be brought out of the dusty closet.
Next episode, maybe next
100%.
episode.
Please.
Oh, that'd be bang. But yeah, we should probably wrap up now. We've been rambling for about an hour and 40 minutes.
Damn.
So, we were only supposed to last here an hour, but you know what happens when the conversation gets going. Like
Fat mouth.
Okay.
This is-
Fuck you.
But yeah, we're gonna be wrapping it up here for today. So yeah, thank you for coming by and listening to us ramble about the game for an hour and a half and a bit more.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
You can tell
Bye.
this is our first episode. See you all next time, everybody.
Leave.